presentations and whatnot. And I don't, I'm on calls as an audience, and I know what it's like to sit there and just kind of feel like you're hearing Charlie Brown's principal talking, you know? And I also know there's times when I feel like I'm that guy and I don't want to be. So I'm trying to come up with some unique ways to present things to people. And I found the biggest response I got is if I use live scenarios
Yeah.
of situations that happened, just to keep people ahead of it. Because, even if you do, 2, 3, 4, 5 transactions in a month, you're never gonna there still might be something new that you might run into from time to time. So the more you talk with other people and hear about their positive or unique situations, or troublesome times that they've had on a certain file, or buy or sell side, the more you can kind of understand or maybe prevent that from happening to you.
Right. I think it does. Real life examples always stick in people's heads versus just words, right? So that's why, I know when I did a lot of my training, when we did like ethics and things like that, we used, here was an example, here's what happened, right? And people, it just seems to stick in their heads. So awesome. Well, you guys, it is 9:00. So happy New Year. Welcome back to Empire Masterminds. Thank you for spending your Wednesday morning with us. Hopefully you noticed on the Facebook page, I changed up our look for our little, weekly announcements of who's going to be presenting or what the topic is. So kind of have a new look, and it goes hand in hand with our topic today about creating your brand. So, obviously we're going to discuss, most of us probably have some kind of a logo or some kind of a look right now, but maybe this is a new year and you want to change it up, or you want to try something different, or who knows, maybe you don't even have one and you're just thinking about creating your brand. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. But before we get into that, we've got Aaron Neubauer with Success Lending with us. He is going to give us a little tidbit on what's happening in the market. Good morning, Aaron.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks. I'll make this kind of short and sweet. And as I was saying earlier, I just want to use an example of something. And as we're talking about branding here today, it's important just to reiterate, the professionalism of an agent, to go above and beyond. Anybody can, show a house or, present a listing, but there's a big difference between an agent and a great agent. And you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm not going to get into details on that, but just, the professionalism that comes with it. And I just threw this together really quick. There are certain things that you're going to want to ask yourself, regardless if you're on a buy side or on a sell side. How many units is this property? This property might look like a 2-unit. It might look like it has a mother-in-law suite, but is it actually zoned that way? Know the difference between a condo and a townhome, the difference between a PUD and a CIC. Is there an association? What does the association cost? But then dive deeper into that. What does it cover? What is included in that? Does the association restrict what color I can make my window boxes? Maybe that's a sticking point. Is there a assessment down the road? Maybe there's curb and gutter, or we got hit with a hailstorm and there's a new roof coming on. Well, if your buyer doesn't know about a new roof going down in the spring, that could be a huge assessment that gets placed upon all of the homeowners. So it's just little things like that to stay in front of. And this is the example that happened to me recently. There was a listing that I had a buyer put an offer in on. This listing right here was presented. Hopefully you guys can see it. It's not the biggest picture in the world, but this listing right here was a multifamily listing. It's got an upstairs, it's got a downstairs. That's the exact same thing. These are the pictures, obviously, that came with the appraisal. We were waiting to do the 5% down with that new Fannie Mae product that rolled out, because you can only do you can do just as little as 5% down on a multi-unit home, as long as it's a primary residence, guys. And in a house like this that's selling for $900,000, not having to put 20% down is the difference between 180 and 45. So it's a pretty big chunk of money. Some interior pictures real quick. This is the basement with the kitchen and the dining room and the living area. The upstairs has the exact same thing. Every aspect about this home, guys, with 2 garages, 2 separate entries, just screams this. Well, come to find out, after I get my appraisal back, here's what I see. This is zoned R1. The city of Spicer does not deem this a multifamily home. It could be. if you called the city inspector, they walked through the home and they said that this house is up to code, that the fire suppressant system is right, the walls are done correctly, everything is up to code. Now, unfortunately for the agents, they miss this. I'm not going to have access to this until I get an appraisal back. This isn't one particular agent. This isn't the buyer side, the seller side, or me. No one's really at fault here. This is kind of a collective that if we all went above and beyond, we could have figured this out potentially beforehand. Now, the good news is this particular buyer was planning on bringing 45%, but now we have to bring enough money to get us to our max single unit loan amount, which is 766,550. So the client was able to bring that extra money to the table and still get this house, but not everybody has an extra 100K lying around. And we could have had to walk. Now, maybe we would have gone back and fought with the listing agent because they misrepresented, and we could have gotten the earnest money back. But regardless, even if we would have won that, it wouldn't have been a good look. So all I'm saying is take your time, do a little research, especially now when it's a competitive market. Homes might not stay on the market for very long, and you got to put your best foot forward. Having the right answer isn't always as good as having the best answer. So take your time, do things right, use your resources, ask for help from a title company, from a loan officer, from your broker, from your team leader. Do some recon and make yourself look like the professional and get ahead of this stuff before it becomes an issue. So if anybody needs me for anything, don't hesitate to reach out. Otherwise, with that said, I'll just turn it over to you guys.
Awesome. Thanks.
Hey, Aaron, will you just put your contact information in the chat, please?
Sure, I can do that 100%, team.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
Perfecto. Thank you. And obviously, rates came down, last month a little bit. So we're hopefully going to see some more drops over the next number of months. That would be lovely, just to keep some activity going. So, all right. So today we are going to be talking about creating your brand. Okay. And I don't know, maybe some of you already have like a logo or a look or a brand, or you're working just underneath maybe your broker's brand, thinking about how that represents you and how you want to be perceived in the community is a very important part of your brand, right? So I'm going to share my screen here, give you my little dog and pony today. Okay. We're going to talk about creating your brand. So before we get into the visual aspects of your brand, which is, the pretty stuff, your logo, maybe your slogan, your colors, all of that fun stuff, you have to really think about defining your brand, right? And what I mean by defining your brand is this is the dig deep portion. Before you can even start to design everything, you have to get a feel for, who you are, who you want people to see you as, or how you want people to perceive you. Okay. So we're not going to do a total deep dive into this whole exercise, but it's something that if you guys don't have a brand, or maybe you have one and it's time you've maybe revisited it, relooked at it, maybe you're changing it up. This is probably, these are some of the questions that you probably need to go through and ask yourself. Okay. So if you don't have, or I'm going to actually, let's start with the quote. I love this quote. Brand identity is more than finding the right logo to put on a coffee cup sleeve or mounting above your front door. It's about crafting a personality that really amplifies the core elements of your brand's DNA. And that was a quote from Wayfair Senior Brand Manager, Jared Rawson. And I love that. It's really the impression or the personality behind your logo, right? Or your name. So if you don't have a vision, a mission, or a value statement, for your individual business, you really need to do that. And there's lots of online exercises that you can Google, or, places that you can go online that'll take you through that exercise. There are resources like ChatGPT that can help you as well. But really defining, what's your business's purpose, right? Who are you? What are the values behind your business is really the first starting point to figure out who you are, right? What makes you unique? What value do you provide to your audience or to your clients? And who do you want to attract, right? We'll go into some of this a little bit deeper later, but these are things you have to ask yourself. Who do you want people, or how do you want people to see you? And how do you want people to react to you or to relate to you? Are you somebody that's trying to cater to a luxury client? Are you someone who's catering to the first-time home buyer, right? Kind of what's your target market, and how do you want people to relate to you? Because your brand identity ultimately is who you are. It's what makes you you. It's what your value is, and it's how you work. Okay. So these are all just, again, not going down this rabbit hole to take you through the whole exercise, but I would say if you don't know what your brand identity is, you just picked a cute picture and threw a home in your logo and you called it good because you're in real estate. That's maybe not conveying what you may want it to be conveying. Okay. So take some time to really think about this. Again, who are you? Who's your target market? How do you want them to perceive you? What's the problem that they have that you're out there to solve, right? These are things that you can kind of go through to help you start to develop what that brand identity is that you have. Okay. Once you kind of know your identity, then you're going to be kind of creating the visual side of your brand, right? So again, it's very important to really know who your target audience is, and maybe you have a special niche. Knowing those two things really help you start to, and once you've developed those questions and gone through those questions we just talked about, and you know who you're targeting, then you can really focus on the visual aspect of your brand, right? And we're going to get into some of these things and how they really relate to your target market, right? How they can evoke certain emotions and whatnot. So when we talk about brands and identities and whatnot, whoops, I probably should not go any forward here. Let's talk a little bit. Let's talk about some brands that just off the top of your head. When I say Nike, what are some of the things that you guys think of? Like, do you get a visual in your brain with Nike?
Shoes.
What else?
Just do it.
Just do it, right? Their slogan, right? That's their visual. But what's the non-visual? What do you think? Or how do you feel about that company? What's the emotion they evoke from you? Anybody? Like
Power.
I get hard work gets results, right? I get respect the work put into it. All of their things is just do it. Their marketing is, you're seeing people work hard and sweating, and they're not really focusing on the shoes in those commercials, are they? They're focusing on these athletes just busting their hump and just doing the work, and they're getting the results, right? So you earn the respect, you work hard, you get results. They've got top athletes that are kind of their spokespeople, right? So the emotion I get is I want to be like them, right? So I've got to work hard, put in the work, and then I can be this top athlete, right? So it's probably a different emotion that you get, or a feel that you get, versus, let's say, Keds, right? Very different. When you think of those two products, they're both tennis shoes, but you're really getting a different emotion when you see their marketing and their brand identity. Another one would be Walmart. Do you guys get a visual when I say Walmart? And when I say Walmart, what do you know about the company, and what do you feel about the company? Anyone?
So Walmart to me is all over. I mean, you can find them anywhere, and they have everything.
Okay. Anyone else?
More for less, maybe. I don't know.
Yep, they're inexpensive, right? They have low prices. Remember, that was part of their slogan. We've got the lowest prices in town. So, it's inexpensive. right? They're everywhere. They're going to beat everyone.
I think with the low prices slogan, they also cater to I don't want to say specific niche market, but it's the people that are looking for cheap and
Value seekers.
yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So what you don't think about when you hear Walmart is luxury, right? High end, fashion forward. You're not thinking like you might when you think of like a Bloomingdale's or a Macy's or something like that. That's not what you're thinking about when you hear Walmart, right? So this is all because of their marketing and their brand identity. They don't want to be known as Bloomingdale's and Macy's. They want to cater to the people who are the value seekers, like Aaron said. They want the lowest price. They want good value. They want everything all in one place, right? We can get our groceries, we can get our toothpaste, we can find anything, we can find clothes. It's all under one roof. Very convenient, right? That's part of their brand identity. So when you guys are thinking about this, you want to think about how people relate to you, right? And how you want to be perceived and what's your brand identity. We can think of, if you're a real estate agent that's wanting to be in that luxury high-end market, and that's all you want, you're going to probably want to dress a certain way. You're going to probably have a certain car. You're going to probably be in the community at higher end functions and galas and things like that, right? You're going to surround yourself with the people that are going to, that you want to connect with, right? You're going to create your brand of where you live and how you want to be perceived in the community. Very different from a real estate agent who is, like we said, catering maybe to that first time home buyer where you want to connect with people who are buying their first home. They want to be educated a little bit more. You want to help them get their foot in the door to start building their personal wealth. That's going to be a different persona that you're creating, an identity that you're creating out in the market, versus the luxury market or the luxury realtor, correct? So all I wanted you to think about is when you're thinking about your brand and your marketing, you need to really think about who's your target market? Who do you want to attract? And how do you want to be perceived out there? Okay. Once you kind of have those things in mind, then you can develop maybe, your logo. What does that look like? I've got mine up here as an example. Bruce and I, we wanted people when they looked at our logo to know we were in real estate immediately. We didn't want them to, wonder what we did. Right. And there's a lot of people that have, the dream team or the whatever, whatever you're using as your logo. That's great. That's up to you, but you need to make sure that it's relevant to what you do, that it's identifiable, that people understand what you do, right? Unless you're someone like Google, who's got billions and billions of dollars to spend in marketing, right? So that you know who they are. We don't always do that, right? So you probably want to think about your logo, having some identifiers, right? Now we talked about this morning, we could have, done something maybe a little bit more cutesy. I've seen some real estate agents have, like a heart or a cute little sign or, a house in their logo. And you can have a different feel, right? When you look at a logo. Bruce and I have a luxury marketing certification. And we've got some other designations that we kind of wanted to keep ours a little bit more clean and a little bit more modern looking, right? But again, if you have a target market that has a different feel or you want to evoke a different emotion from your logo, think about that, right? And that's going to maybe depend on, we'll go to the next box down here, the font that you're using, right? The font in your logos, the font in your marketing. Different fonts really have a different feel, right? There's playful fonts, there's cartoony fonts, there's more modern and cutting edge fonts. So all of those things can evoke, like we said, emotions, right? Also, if you can develop a tagline or a slogan as part of your brand and your brand identity. You don't have to. I always think of one of my favorite ones is Ford, right? It's built to last. And you just think about, you know, when you think about their commercials, you're not seeing the beautiful truck up on a spinning pedestal, right? All their marketing is they're showing trucks going through the mud, and and construction workers throwing stuff in the back, and it's built tough, right? And you know, that's the identity that they want you to see, right? So if your slogan is part of that identity, telling people how you want to be perceived, you know, great. And you can add that in if you want. And then obviously colors. We'll get into the psychology of colors in just a minute, but colors really can psychologically already communicate things to people, whether you know that or not. So if you haven't developed your logo and you are in the middle of that, or you're looking at your brand identity, we're going to talk about some of those colors and what kind of emotions or feelings that they convey in just a little bit.
Hey, Kel, just
Yeah.
one thing on that last slide, to help people kind of focus on the target audience and the niche. You know, you may have two different niches or target audiences that you want to go after. You may have a senior audience that you like dealing with, but yet you're very comfortable with first-time home buyers. The message to both of them is completely different. Right. So what I would tell you is you can have two, but you need two separate branding identities for them, because you don't have the same message for the seniors as you do your first time home buyer. Right. So pick one, work on one, get it perfected, and then move on to the next one. Otherwise, you're really muddying the water as far as the message that you're trying to get out to those people.
Yeah, I think that just depends on more target marketing. Your target marketing might be different, but your brand identity is not necessarily who your target market is. It's just how you want them to perceive you, right? So your first time home buyer and your senior market, you probably still want both of those market audiences or those target markets to trust you, to respect you, to like you, right? And that's who they're going to do business with, right? So you want people to know that you are, I think both of those markets would really want to know that their real estate agent or their loan officer is very knowledgeable in their business, right? A first-time home buyer definitely wants to know that you know what you're doing, right? So you have to convey that you are very competent at what you do, especially the senior market. They want to know that you're competent in what you do, right? So I think there's some overlaps in your overall brand identity that will definitely cater to these different niches, you know, that you might have. Does that make sense, you guys? Okay.
Yeah, this is like your first impression. I mean, it's very quick. If people see it and they like it, great. You're in, you got your foot in the door. If they see it and they don't like it, you don't even get a chance.
Yeah. We'll talk about that a little bit later too, you guys, but you know, you're on a job interview all the time, no matter what you do, right? So people are looking at you on socials, whatever. You don't realize this, but they're interviewing you whether you like it or not. So, you know, what are you putting out there, right? Bruce and I are part of a coaching program, and it was the coach of that program had a really good example. She said younger in her career, she's a very attractive lady. You know, she dressed a little bit more provocatively and whatnot. And, you know, quickly learned that was what she was attracting by doing that was not the type of client that she wanted to attract. So she had to make some changes, right? She also talked about a niche that she created for herself when we had the downturn back in whatever 07, 08. She created a niche for herself in the foreclosure market, right? So she became known as that foreclosure queen in her area out in California. And that was great. Obviously, it was a niche that needed to be provided for. But then when she went to a high-end listing appointment, She didn't get the listing. Okay. And she went back to the client and said, why didn't I get the listing? And they said, she goes, did you not like me? And they said, no, we really liked you. It was just the person we went with told us that your niche is really foreclosures and you were known as the foreclosure queen. So that's why we went with this other agent. Right. And so she, by her branding and her marketing to this, about her being the foreclosure queen, really was developing her brand identity. And she did not want to preclude then the luxury market. So she said, she had to change her brand identity and the way that she marketed herself so that now she's known as the digital marketing queen, right? She said it took about a year, but, just know that if you've already kind of created a look or an identity for yourself that you don't necessarily want anymore, or that needs to be updated or changed, you absolutely can do that. It's going to take a little bit of work and some time to build that consistency and to build that new, that new overall feel. It's not going to happen overnight, but it certainly can be changed, right? So don't feel like you're pigeonholed into something you were doing 10 years ago or 5 years ago if you want to go down a different route. Okay. All right. So let's talk about just some things, how you can stand out from the crowd when you're talking about your brand overall. If you guys have not updated your photo, I mean, I can't even tell you, we all know those agents in our area or those business people in our area where you've seen their picture online or on a business card or on a flyer, and you meet them in person and you're like, holy moly, like that picture must be from 40 years ago. And it was like the glamour shots photo, right? We all know those people. So get a current photo, keep it up to date. You might have to do one every couple years, depending on your age or your style, right? Wear clothes that reflect who you are and who you want to attract. So I'll go back to that example earlier of Krista dressing a little bit more provocatively and changing that up. If you're showing up in ripped up jeans and a t-shirt out in the community everywhere, you're probably going to attract a certain type of client, and that's fine if that's who you want to attract. But if you're, like I said, trying to break into the high-end luxury market, ripped up jeans and a t-shirt probably isn't going to get you there, right? So think about how you're showing up in the community and in the public and in your social posts and things like that, because that does say a lot, right? Be consistent, you guys. Your brand should be consistent across all platforms and in all your marketing materials, right? When we talk about building a brand, people want to, the only way you can build that overall, the mileage off your brand is to be consistent everywhere, right? McDonald's isn't showing up with golden arches here in Minnesota and, a burger on their sign in, Iowa, right? The golden arches are the golden arches are the golden arches, whether you're in Japan, whether you're here in the United States, whatever, right? It's brand consistency. I want to see if I can show you guys, even just like on my, hang on, I'm gonna move something. Like, I'm gonna just show you Bruce and can you guys see that?
Yeah.
This is, okay. So this is like our LinkedIn profile, right? On top, we have that look. If you go to our YouTube channel, we've got the same look, right? That look and feel. You go to our Facebook page, same look and feel. So everywhere where you guys are, you need to be consistent, right? With your look. And that's online, but also just in your marketing materials, right? If you are, I don't know, Bruce, if you can grab one of our folders, I don't know if you've got it handy, right? That same look that we just, oh, here, I've got one. Hold on. That same look, I don't know if you guys can see this. We've kind of got the blue and the orange from EXP. We've tied that into our marketing materials. So, whatever you're handing out, your business card, your flyers, your pens that you give out, whatever, it just should all tie in. So you've just got this uniform color scheme, this uniform look. Okay. Are you unforgettable? Like, are you being unique out there in your posting? Are you bringing something fun or different to your brand that makes you unforgettable, right? People want to know you. They want to see the personal side of you. And that can go a long way. We have an agent in our area. I don't think Alex is on this morning, but he's got a couple husky dogs, right? And the dogs are a part of his brand. I mean, he's out on listing appointments. They're in the car. He's putting up a sold sign. He's taking pictures of the dogs by the sold sign, right? They are an active part of his brand identity. And you might not even remember his name all the time, but you're going to know he's the agent with the husky dogs, right? So if you've got kind of a niche, you love horses, you love cooking, you love boating, you love whatever, you love your car collection, you got a Lamborghini, great. Make that part of your brand, because that is going to make you unforgettable. Think about ways to stand out from everybody else. Okay. Especially in today's day and age. I mean, the internet is just flooded with people and how they're trying to set themselves apart. That's definitely a way that will make you stand out. Okay. And again, perception. How are you currently being perceived, and how would you like to be perceived? If they're two different things, you can change, right? You can create a new brand identity around, how you want to be perceived, but make sure it's something that you can maintain, right? So if you're a new agent and maybe you're just starting out, but you really want to break into that luxury market, but you haven't really developed a good income in this business, I don't advise you going out and buying the Lamborghini, right? To drive around and try to get into that luxury market, because you might not be able to afford that, right? So just make sure that what you're doing is something that you can maintain consistently so that you have the time to really develop that brand identity in your market. Okay. Any questions on this, you guys? Comments? Okay. Okay, so some key points for your visual branding. I would say look at what your competition is doing. Keeping an eye on the market is always a good thing, right? If you're starting to develop your brand and you're trying to think of what your color scheme is or what your look is, I would take a look at what the other competitors are. If you've got brokers in your area, and there's a lot of red or there's a lot of blue, maybe you want to be a different color. Maybe you want to do something that stands out in the sea of all the rest of the, people in your industry, right? Do you have competitors that when they do a post or they do a commercial, whatever, it really catches your eye or it stands out and you just always find yourself leaning towards that or getting attracted to that? Well, make notes, because if that's attracting you, that's probably attracting other people, right? So the whole rob and duplicate, the R&D department, that's what we're all about. Make things easy, kind of copy some of the things that you like or the styles that you like, as long as you still have your own unique touch to it. Okay. And then, as we talked about, for sure, when you're thinking about your own visual branding, is always consider your audience or your target market, right? Bruce mentioned that senior market. If that's your go-to market, you're going to want to think about things like your font size and your style, right? The older we get, the harder it is to see. So don't use total scripty, scrolly fonts and tiny fonts, right? You want to use bigger fonts and things that are a little bit easier for them to read. If you're breaking in or you're in the luxury market, you definitely don't want to use cartoony fonts in your marketing and advertising. You want sleek and sophisticated, right? Also look at contrast, right? Contrast in your marketing for not only readability or for the demographic that you're trying to market to. And then also, what's your geography? Like Bruce and I were trying to create our brand a while ago, and some of our stuff when we were using pictures, and we found a really cool luxury high-end home, but it had palm trees. Well, we're in Minnesota. We can't use palm trees and ocean views in some of our flyers and marketing when that's not the market that we serve, right? So really be conscious of that. I can't tell you, I've seen tons of realtors put marketing pieces together and they're marketing mountains or they're marketing things that like aren't even in their area. So you've got to really be mindful of that as well. Okay.
Pam, if you want those pictures and stuff that we found in the mountains and the really cool palm trees and stuff, I can get them for you.
Yeah. And honestly, there's tons of services. If you don't have professional photos of the types of houses or the types of properties that you want to market, there's so many places online, iStock photos you can either subscribe to, or like Canva, has some that are, you have to be careful, make sure that they're all, able to be used free of any royalty charges. But, there's tons of websites out there that you can find those photos. You don't have to hire a professional.
You know what we should do? We should start like a shared Dropbox, because I have a ton of stock photos that I've done that
Yes,
everybody could use. Wouldn't that be great?
that's a
you. Good
great
idea.
idea.
That would
That's
be
a great
awesome.
idea. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, it's not hard to find them. Just, you got to be careful, right? Just that you're not using somebody else's photos without permission. So, all right, so let's dig a little bit deeper into the psychology of colors. Okay, this is kind of fun. So obviously colors, they can evoke emotions. Certain colors will convey meanings and energies just based on the color itself. There's a lot of unspoken communication, when you think about certain colors. And so you really need to consider your personality, and you need to consider, again, your target audience when you're starting to think of your visual brand. So I'm just going to go through a bunch of colors. This is compliments of Krista Maester Coaching. She had put together a whole list of these. So I Robin duplicated from her, but I'm giving her the props here. So yellow, here's some of the things that yellow conveys: hope, optimism, creativity, energy, positive, warmth, motivation, light. So again, if that's kind of part of your identity, maybe you want to use yellow. Orange, we're part of EXP. Orange is one of their colors in their brand. Bold, vitality, fun, playful, exuberant, youthful, energy, daring. That's what, orange represents. Red, a lot of people think red, right? The bullfighters, the red gets the bull going, right? It's aggression, some passion, it's energy, power. When you ever hear people talk about wear your power tie, it's usually the red tie going into that meeting, right? It's evoking a certain emotion or energy, right? Purple, we think of royalty, more elegance, opulence, sophistication. Pink, you have more feminine, more youthful, tender, sensitive, softer feel, right? Blue, we generally get more of a calm or a trustworthy, confident, secure, integrity. Green, you see a lot of like landscaping companies, nature companies using green in their logo, right? It's more, it gives you that nature, that health, we talk about Aaron in lending, right? Wealth, growth, bounty, things like that. A lot of lenders use green. So, again, you're thinking about what you want to convey. Brown, earth, natural, durability, rustic, resourceful. Black, we start to get into kind of the luxury, sophistication, timeless. Black still is power, prestige. Gold, definitely. When you see luxury marketing, things like that, you're definitely seeing gold and that affluence and the elegance and refinement. White, we think of very clean and pure, noble, unblemished, perfect. And then silver and gray, again, can be used in some luxury. I have seen that, but you really think of more innovation, more scientific, more mature. It can have a cold feel too, and reserved feel when you use a lot of silver and gray. Okay. So I'm sure that's not everything. That's just, some ideas of what those colors can convey. So when you are thinking about, what is my target market? Who do I want to, perceive, or, how do I want them to perceive me? Who do I want to attract? When you're developing your visual marketing or branding, really start to think about what types of emotions or feelings these colors can evoke. And then again, tied in with the font that you use and the things that you do, you're really creating this overall look, but you're also creating that identity, that's attached to it, right? The feel behind. The look is the kind of the face, your logo is like the face, but your brand identity is really the impression that you leave. And there's a great saying that I took off of a HubSpot article, which I'm going to give you guys a link to, because it is an amazing article if you want to go down this path of developing your identity. They said a good product or service generates customers, but a good brand generates advocates, right? So if you are attracting a certain client and your brand identity makes them feel a certain way and makes them feel good about you, they're going to become an advocate for life, right? They felt good. You provided the service that felt good, made them feel good. They perceived you as respectable, as likable, as trustworthy. Then they're going to become your advocates for life, right? So that's why it's super important to put more into your brand than just the visual side of it. Okay. So when you're doing this, there's lots of resources you guys can go to for help, right? So here is the link to that article. Bruce, can you put that in the chat for me? Will you? I don't know if you can cut and paste that or not, but if not, I'll put it in the chat or I'll post it in Facebook later. But this is the link to that HubSpot article. It's awesome. It has a lot of fantastic information. It has some videos even on color breakdown and how to, really dig deep into that when you're developing your brand. Canva is a fabulous resource. They have a whole area. I'm going to flip over to it real quick, where it helps you develop a brand kit, right? So here's a couple of our niche markets, our EXP. I'm going to click on this. EXP has a whole, all of their acceptable colors and whatnot that they want us to use when we're doing our marketing and we're using their logo. It has to be these colors. And you can see underneath each one of them, they have a hashtag, a hex color that is associated with it. So this is also something super important, you guys. Your company may have some constraints on how you use their logo, how you use your logo in conjunction with their logo. So you need to make sure that part of your brand is following your broker or your company rules too, right? So I know in real estate in Minnesota, we have to have our broker, anytime we're marketing or advertising, our broker's logo has to be, apparent on our marketing, right? Along with ours. So when Bruce and I market, we usually always have our Domaille real estate market along with EXP. So it was important to us to make sure that we used colors in our logo that would be cohesive and things that work with our brand, right? You don't have to do that. I know EXP has a white version, they have a black version, and then they have their colored version. So if you want to go a total different route in your brand, in your color scheme that's opposite of your broker, does your broker have a white or a black, version of their logo that you can use that won't fight with your color scheme, if their colors didn't work with yours, right? So all of those things you can think about. But Canva it's really cool. So like I, put in our logo, and then what it did is it pulled up the color palette of the exact hex colors, or I can add them in. If there's a color that, they use, I can add it right in to the color palette. So now when I'm developing my stuff on Canva, my flyers, my business cards, whatever, I can build it right in this brand kit. So it's using those same colors. Okay. If you're somebody who, let's say you don't know what you want to do, right? They have brand templates. So you could go into this brand template kit, and let's say I'm going to start with I'm going to develop my own business card, right? They're going to show you over here on the side a bunch of templates, giving you ideas. And maybe you get to one and you go, oh my gosh, I love this one. I love this green and gold. It looks very luxurious or very wealth conscious. If I click on it, it's going to show me the colors that they used and the fonts that they used in that card that I liked, that drew my attention, right?
Can you go to the meeting agenda?
Oops, sorry, Mom. So you can, you don't have to come up and invent this stuff on your own. They're going to provide you with a lot of help. So if I click on that template style, it's already going to kind of give me the colors and the fonts and the whatever, and I can, you know, I can do whatever I want. I can click on this and I can replace the current page and go, oh my gosh, now this is the look I love, right? Now I can just put my photo here. I can change out all this information to have my name. And here I've already developed the card that I like, right? Here's the back. I'm going to add this in as a, whoops, I'm going to do this new page, do this. And now I've got a front or the back of my card. I've got the front of my card. I didn't have to hire a designer. I didn't have to do anything, but it was with the colors and the fonts that I really liked. Okay. So you can go through and just like, oh my gosh, I like this look. I like, you know, this is really more modern. I like this look, right? So now I'd prefer to do that instead. And I'd prefer to have this look. Now I've got this template style, super easy, right? So it takes a lot of the guesswork out. Go to the templates, find one that appeals to you, and you've already got colors and designs that you can choose from. Okay. And you can develop your own brand kit within Canva that you can start to use. Okay. I'm gonna go back to my other screen here. So Canva, huge resource. I use it all the time. Fiverr, that's a company. I believe they probably charge for services, but they do design, you know, they can design logos, design websites, do a lot of stuff for you too, if you want to hire somebody out to do that. ChatGPT, hugely helpful. Bruce, you can probably talk about maybe how you've used them in some of the branding that we've done. Oop, your mic is off.
Sorry. Yeah, ChatGPT is amazing, and it's not hard to use. You can do research. I think for the specific branding here that we're talking about, you really need to know who you are, right? And a very simple thing to do is to go into ChatGPT and just say, I'm a real estate agent and I need to have you know and understand my business. Please ask me 20 questions that you would need to know about me and my business. And that's all you need to do. And then it'll ask you 20 questions. You fill those out. From those 20 questions, it's like it's enlightening because somebody else is looking inside your business based on your answers. And it gives you a really good platform to say, oh yeah, I didn't think about that. I forgot that. I didn't look at it this way. And I think it would be a massive help. And at some point in time, we'll do a ChatGPT deep dive and get into more of that. But that would definitely help you on your way to starting to create your brand.
Right, because then once you kind of figure out the answers to those questions, it helps you understand who you are and who you're trying to attract. But it also then allows ChatGPT to know you and your business. So then when you're creating things through ChatGPT, maybe it's scripts or whatever, you can say, knowing what you know about my business and who I am, create a script or create a post, post verbiage, that will use that information, right? So like we can use ChatGPT in so many great ways, but asking it, like Bruce said, to develop 20 questions to really get to know you and your business is a great way to get started. We are going to do a whole AI April. Every week in April, we're going to do AI in different aspects of the business. So if that's something you guys are interested in, I hope that you tune in April. And then the last one is just HubSpot. I gave you this link here to this article, but HubSpot is probably one of my favorite websites or blogs that I go to. They do a lot of great articles and informational blogs that you can really use in your business. So I would definitely go to them as well. So with that, you've got some good resources to do some research. You've got some good things to think about. Any questions that you guys have on building your brand or, how to get started on it?
Just real quick, I was able to put that link for HubSpot in the chat.
Okay,
so
awesome.
if you got that, the first link had a typo in it, so I retyped it slowly.
Sorry.
So make sure you use the second one.
Any questions on anything, you guys? Anything you need? Who has a logo or a brand right now that they're working with? Okay. Anybody thinking of like starting to develop one other than just your name?
I definitely develop one, but I'm still trying to figure out who my target market is, because right now I serve seniors to first-time home buyers to vacation buyers, and I just have to figure that out so I can do the right colors, do the right fonts.
Yeah. And like we said, maybe the seniors probably need a bigger font, but that doesn't mean that's going to turn off the first time home buyer, right? So find something that's going to work in, across the board. Again, that's more conveying who you are, to your target market. It's going to tell them or create the identity that is who you are, how you work, what your values are, what value you bring to the table, right? That's what your brand identity has to convey to people, but it just has to also not offend your target market in any way, or, or not be easily read by them, right? And then how you do your specific target marketing to those niches can be different, right? But your brand identity should be one brand identity across the board, right? That's the other thing, you guys, when you are doing your marketing or you're posting and on social, again, we talked about you're always on interview. People are going to find out who you are. They want to know more about you. So they're going to go to your socials. If you're posting offensive stuff, if you're super political, that's probably going to turn some people off, right? If you are, dancing on the bar in your bikini, but you're trying to tap into a luxury market or an elderly market, that's, think about how those things are being conveyed. People want to see the personal side of you, but 24/7, you're representing you and your brand. So you really have to be careful. We want you to have, if your personality is fun and outgoing and you do a lot of fun and outgoing things, that's great, but you still have to be careful to draw the line on what is being out there, as far as your overall identity.
And just remember this one thing about your branding. People see it very quickly. You have to stand out from the crowd to get people to connect with you, right? And in order for them to connect with you, they either call, email, text, or click your brand link, right? So if your brand looks good and they click your brand link, that's all you want, right? You can, like Lisa, if she's got a senior market and a first-time home buyer, and I can't remember what the third one was, but once they click, and wherever that click takes them, you could have 3 specific areas that they just click on if they're a first-time home buyer, or if they're a senior, or if they're whatever the third one was. That's where you can split out all of that information, but that brand just needs to grab their attention. You've got 2 to 3 seconds to grab their attention to get them to connect with you. And I think that's how we need to look at that. How are we going to get them to notice us?
Right. Again, it's who do you want to attract, right? And there's lots of people that have made $1 bazillion on a shock and awe type of brand, right? The Howard Sterns of the world, the Donald Trumps of the world, the Kardashians of the world, right? They have a brand identity. And that's okay. That's because they're attracting that type of client or person, right? They want that shock and awe value. You may not want that shock and awe value. So make sure that what you're putting out there isn't shock and awe, right? So, so just kind of think about it. And honestly, if you guys haven't gone through a brand identity exercise, there's so many resources out there to how to take you through that. Really just thinking about who's my target market, what's the problems they have? How do I solve them? How will they perceive me as being able to solve them? Go through those exercises to really define who it is you want to be in front of, because we don't have to be in front of the world, right? We don't need to brand and market to the entire world. We just want to market to the people who we'll connect with, right? And who we want to connect with. So Hopefully that gives you guys lots of food for thought. We're getting right here down to the last couple minutes. Any last questions for me, for Aaron, in regards to the market and lending? Anything you want help with?
I got a quick question / point here. I think it's important that as you guys are rolling out your, your potential brand, think of it also like how a restaurant does it. They do soft openings. Companies do soft openings. So get yourself a group or a sphere of people where you know that you have advocates, but also people that aren't afraid to tell you what you might not want to hear, because that constructive feedback and or quote unquote negative feedback is going to help you see pitfalls on something that you might see. So when you got tunnel vision and you got this great idea and everything is good, having another brain or other eyes on something just to give you their perspectives and how they view it, something as simple as the colors, there's a lot of subliminal messaging that goes on with a visual. And the more that you can get back from that, so you can kind of tie it in. So just because you got your logo that you think you want doesn't mean you have to roll it out 100% to the world, because then you might have to pull it back. So just take your time with it and find out what works for you.
That's great advice.
Great point.
It's kind of like when we talk with our sellers and we walk through their home and they live in their home, they don't even see things anymore, right? They're so like, this is great. This is normal. A fresh set of eyes walking through their home is like, we probably want to take down the collection on the wall that, gives off a weird vibe, or, the 4,000 tchotchkes you got above your kitchen counter, right? Like the things like that they just don't see anymore, right? So that's a great idea. Get that peer group and run it by them and say, what do you think when you see this? What's it telling you? How do you feel about my logo? What type of client do you think this is going to attract, right? That's a great idea. I love it. Any other questions, you guys?
Kelly, where did you go to develop your logo? Did you go to Fiverr? Who did you use?
Yeah, we used a local marketing company here in Rochester. A friend of ours owns it's called Image Bridge. So we just went to him and we just kind of had a session with him. Like, here's what we want to do. Here's who we want to attract. What do you think? We want people to know we're in real estate from the get-go. We want it to be sophisticated enough, but not turn off the first-time home buyers and the entry-level buyers, but classy enough or sophisticated enough to, be able to work in that higher end market as well. So yeah, so that's another thing is local marketing or those types of companies are great resources as well. Obviously that costs you money. Whereas the Canvas of the world, right, can go in and they've already got designers working and things. If you already kind of have a look you like that you see there, that's free.
Plus, I think the other thing for us, as we wanted on our logo, we wanted it simple. We wanted it, I don't want to call it elegant, but very not snazzy. But we also wanted our name. I was born and raised in Rochester and owned a car dealership for 25 years. So it's the name has got something behind it. So, try to think outside the box a little bit and figure out what you have to offer the community. And if you can some way, shape or form, get that in or communicate it across in your logo, like I said, you get 2 or 3 seconds to catch people. So use as much of that as you can without getting over gaudy.
Well, and part of the problem, like Bruce and I've had many discussions on this, part of our problem is, Domaille Real Estate, like he said, we wanted to use that because the name is very prominent in our area. But, if we were ever to want to build a huge team or build teams in other states, right? That's now not a brand that's as recognizable as it is here in Rochester, right? And so we would want to think about that. Like there's a agent in our office or in our company, her name's Elizabeth Riley, and she has a non-traditional team, right? Where people they do their own thing. They're their own agent. They aren't like just a buyer's agent or a seller's agent on her team, but they all use the brand of the Lux Group, right? So the Lux Group isn't specifically branding Elizabeth Riley, but she is probably, one of the faces of that group, right? But she can have agents all over now, and they're all branding under that brand identity and that brand. So, if you're someone who's really looking to, at one point in time, build a large team or a team that spans across the states in different states or different areas, maybe that's something that you think about, when you're developing the brand or the logo. Okay. Any other questions? Awesome. Well, if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me afterwards. Happy to help in any way I can. Otherwise, we'll post all this information in our Facebook Empire group, and feel free to invite any other agents if that they might be needing some help with masterminding or products and topics. We'd love to help. Also, if you guys need help with anything, you're looking at 2024 and you're like, this is the one part of my business that I just really need help in, shoot us a comment on Facebook, because we're trying to plan our content calendar for the year and always looking for ideas to add in there. And we're happy to find an expert or someone who can come talk on the topic and help you guys out. Okay.
Thanks for
All right.
spending your first Wednesday of the new year with us.
Yeah. Have a great start to 2024, and we'll see you guys next Wednesday.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.